Hey everybody, I am Big Will, and that is Southern Comic Geek, and I'm thirsty. I've got a drink full of ice and water, and I don't have any more bottles of water to pour in it, so I'm like trying to conserve, but I'm also thirsty.
Well, drink some water. It's good for you.
I mean, yeah. So anyway, how you doing, man? Doing good?
Man, yep, just busy trying to get in the groove before you slow back down with the first of the year. So,
Yeah, yeah. So Merry Christmas, in case you didn't get that from anybody, and yeah, we're almost at the new year. Not quite yet. It's still 2021. So what I wanted to do was, I've learned and I've experimented and done a few things this year with the collecting, buying, and selling of comic books.
mhm.
And I thought to myself, what's some things that I have done? And I come up with five things that I have learned concerning comic books this year. What's going on, D? And I said to myself,
Self.
self, let's write these things down. You know what? That'd be a good video to do too. So I wrote all the five things down. We got Southern Comic Geek here. Jason's gonna be my soundboard. I'm gonna bounce these off of him. We'll discuss them a little bit, and hopefully, Who Dat might be able to jump on too. But for right now, we just have Jason. So do you want to go number 5 to 1 or number 1 to 5? I didn't really put them in an order.
Okay, so you didn't put them in order, or
I did not.
okay, so it doesn't really matter then. Because if you put them in order for the most important, I would say wait, save that one to last. But if there's no importance there,
Yeah.
order.
Well, I'm just going to start with number 5 then,
Okay.
because number 5 is the most generic one, and I think one of the most accurate ones. It's never okay this one time. What I mean by that is if you have your set of rules that you follow, that you do, it's not okay to say, well, I'm not going to do that this one time.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we said, this is my thing that I'm following? Like, I only buy completed books, but man, there's a 181 that's missing a coupon and maybe the ad page, and then you buy it and then you regret it. You got to stick to your guns. It's never okay this one time. So that's sort of a generic thing, but I think it's pretty accurate. What do you think?
Yeah, not only from the standpoint of buying, because some people don't like incomplete
Yeah.
books, some people don't like a restored grade, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's good to set those parameters for yourself so you're not tempted to buy something when it looks like a really good deal. Because at the end of the day, if you regret buying it, it's not a good deal for you. The other thing is in selling, because as sellers, we have certain rules. Like Big Will has the set rule, like the timer is the timer. And if I leave money on the table, it doesn't really matter. This is the rules. We move fast. We go boom, boom, boom. I'm done. And that's his deal. I know that on the auctions that I frequently watch, that is, that a lot of times the rules are not the rules, but sometimes they are the rules, where in lines are not dropped, starting lines are never obeyed, those type of things. And it drives me bananas. And so I had an instance on my auction one time where I said, well, this one time, and I let this guy bid. Well, it ended up angering another one of my bidders who buys just as much or more as this guy. So I said, I worked it out on the side after the show, but that told me that, hey, from now on, the rules are the rules, and what's fair for one person is fair for everybody, and it just makes it easier that way. So
And that goes for your collection in general too. If you have everything in a poly bag and you don't like Mylar, but okay, this one time I'll do the Mylar. You stick it in there, you can spot it a mile away. It's completely different than everything else. You got different kind of tape on it because everything else is different. It has a different board in it. And it's just, you always notice it and you're like, man, I shouldn't have. I mean, that's easily fixable, but still, it's never okay this one time.
Yep. One time becomes the second time and the third time, and before you know it, it gets out of hand.
Yeah. So that will bring us to number 4, which this one can destroy a marriage if you don't follow it, and this one can make you poor if you don't follow. This one's pretty serious.
Uh-oh.
Always keep funds separate. You don't need to be dipping in the groceries to pay for a comic, or you don't need to be stealing from your Grail fund to pay this, payment or something, or this bill. It just doesn't work. You got to keep it separate.
Yep. And I would venture to say that a lot of people that sell books are not selling because they like the process. Me personally, I like the process of selling. I'm in sales for a living. I like the process of selling, to help fund the hobby.
I don't know if I could say I'm in sales for a living per se, but that was my favorite part. I come from a family of car salesmen.
Uh-huh.
So I love the idea of selling it. Me buying a book at a steal and selling it to you at also a good deal, there's nothing more fun than that to me.
Yeah, so some people do it for the thrill, but I would venture to say a lot of people that you see sell on YouTube in particular are selling because they overspent. And so it's going back to what you were saying that, hey, keep the funds separate and you won't get into that kind of trouble because you almost never win that way, right? Because
how many times have we seen guys do videos where, well, the car broke down, we're selling half the collection. Yeah, they don't want to, they have to. And keeping your funds separate and letting the hobby pay for itself, that goes a long way. So yeah, I would include that as an addendum into always keep funds separate.
Yeah, and it's hard, for especially like with my stuff, buying these bigger books. I mean, it's hard to make the hobby pay fully for itself. So, I mean, a hobby is just that, a hobby, and as defined by the IRS code, you cannot make money in. But the thing about it is to keep in mind is that it's not the main thing, right? You got your bills, you got food, shelter, clothing, all this other kind of stuff. I think that sometimes we get so excited about what we do. The temptation's there to going back to your former rule of just this one time. Just this one time, I'm going to rob from Peter to pay Paul because it's this cool deal. And it almost always lands you into hot water.
And I have found that Sleepy Reader mentions that a lot of people dream of having the comic collecting pay for itself. Well, that's actually pretty easy to do. You just got to be willing to do it. A lot of guys don't want to sell any of their collection, but you don't have to make a profit. All you have to do is get out what you put in and, keep it building until you buy the main book that you want. Sell all the ancillary stuff, but you don't have to make a profit. Just letting the comic collecting pay for itself. Most people have a monthly or weekly fund for comics, and that's it. And then they have grails and stuff that's when they get into the trouble. It's not separate, and they go and steal from others' funds to pay for that. But as long as you're willing to sell books, whether you make money on them or not doesn't really matter, and you have a little bit that you set aside, I think everyone can make the hobby pay for itself. But we're not saying make a profit and make money from it. I mean,
or
unless you're trying to. I mean,
or pay in full. I mean, at least it's helping fund it.
Yeah. And so a lot of ways of doing that are trading up. Is that you can trade for a better book, or if you have a 5.0 or something and you want an 8.0, well, sell your 5.0 and you don't have to come up with as much cash.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. But anyway, so that's number 4. Always keep funds separate. Now, this one right here might need to explain it a little bit. I don't know. You can tell me once you hear it. Number 3. Opportunity knocks often, but the door needs cash to open. So keep a reserve of free cash.
Mm.
I have learned, especially if you're a seller and you are trying to make money at it. Like I'll really admit that I have a PC and I love collecting and I love reading comics, but I am trying to sell, and make a profit on everything. I can't tell you how many times I've had to let an opportunity go simply because I didn't have the free cash to act on it.
Yeah, and LCSs, comic shops, I mean, this is the deal that they run into because it's a cash intensive business. Whether it's new books or whether it's collections that walk in the door and you're like, man, this collection's got an Avengers 1 in it and these people don't know what they got. Man, I could flip this real quick. But, if you don't have the cash, you don't have the cash. And so it is very cash intensive. So it does help to be able to pounce on those deals. And I give you a good example of this. I bought a Hulk #1, which ironically I'm looking at another Hulk 1 right now on eBay right here on this other screen. So, but yeah, so I bought a Hulk 1 earlier this year. The way I was able to pounce on that was because I had put it on my goal sheet and I had it in my mind. This is what I need to do to get prepped to get this book because I'm thinking this is a big book. So when it happened and I made the lowball offer and they accepted it, you better be ready to ante up then. So, and I was able to pick it up, but yeah.
Yeah. And this is a recent learn for me is that you got to have that free cash, man. So when I'm going to start passing up these deals that I see, like at a YouTube auction, for example, if someone's selling an ASM 300 for $500, and I know if I get it slabbed and spend $100 doing that, it'll be worth at least 1,000, So I'll make $400. Well, I need to stop doing some of those deals and go after the big opportunities. I have this month, simply because I didn't have free cash, let a 20,000 book collection go.
Mm-hmm.
They were only wanting $5,000. That's 25 cents a book. And I let an 11,000 book collection go, and they were only wanting 3,500. That's 31 cents a book.
So Big Will, I'm going to say this. This is kind of an aside here, but you were talking about letting the small stuff go, going for the bigger stuff, and you and I have talked about this before because I'm content with doubling my money on $2 books or $3 books, right? Because if you could do it in volume, do it fast enough, you still make your money and you have less risk overall. But I get what you're saying, having sold some bigger books myself. But so I've got to myself get out of that mindset that, okay, let's not take any risk over here and let's get the bigger payout by taking a little bit more risk because I'm able to take some more risk. I'm not putting my family in jeopardy, financially by doing that. And I bought a giant size X-Men 1 just for the purposes of holding it to sell it because I already have a copy for myself. For that reason. Having said that, one of the things that you keep in mind is brokering deals. Why, you see what I'm saying? So instead of you saying, all right, well, I'm going to pass on this deal, if you knew somebody who was willing to pay for that kind of stuff.
So what you're saying is you should have called me, Will.
Exactly, man.
Actually, I still think the 20,000 books are still on the table, believe it or not. And the 11,000 books haven't been claimed yet or nothing's been said. So I can still find out, but
well, yeah, I mean, stuff like that. So like if it was a good enough deal, me personally, I know this is kind of off your laundry list here, but I mean, if it was a good enough deal, me personally, I don't have a problem giving you, a couple $100 just as a finder's fee, or ever how you wanted to broker, structure the deal.
Well, my thinking back to my number 3, my thinking is that even if you buy 20,000 books and they're all worth $1,
Mm-hmm.
If you can only sell 40% of them, you're still going to almost double your money if it's $5,000 that you have to pay for them. So that's not as big of a risk to me. It's just more upfront than I can handle at the moment. But I'm learning from that, and I'm not going to let that happen again. So I'm going to make sure I have a reserve, some free cash. I don't know how long it'll take me to get it because I don't borrow money. But anyway, once I
Which
get
is
it, I'll
another
be
good
able to
point. I
go
don't
and
know.
get those.
And Sleepy Reader, that is a great point. And so, me personally, when I figure up how much I made on a book for IRS purposes. Now, I know I'm a little bit different because not everybody reports their earnings. That's between them, the IRS, and everybody else. Okay, I'm just talking about me. When I figure that up, I figure in my time too, because my time is pretty valuable. And I could be chillaxing or doing something else. And so I mean, that's a great point. A lot of people don't figure that into their deal, because you could be doing something else, whether it's delivering pizza, working more hours on your job, or something else. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people view that as just an added benefit because they like this hobby so much that just, hanging out and selling books. And hey, if that works for them, that's great. That's just not me. Because I like shows like this or whatever. I could just assume do stuff like this all the time, then sell a book and lose money. Because losing money is not fun to me.
Yeah. Well, I think we're starting to get into a discussion that would apply to my number two.
Mhm.
My number two is now this is sort of personal to someone who likes to sell.
Mhm.
But I can see it doing good for a collector as well. I do better buying bulk than singles. And I can give you an example of that is I spent about $1,200, I believe it was, at a comic shop here in Alabama that deals in just vintage comics. I've told you about it, so you've seen
Yeah.
pictures.
Mhm.
And what I got with that was about 40 books. And those were all bought singles, bought individually, but grouped together. And with that, I probably averaged maybe 20% profit if you average all the profit out over everything that I sold so far. And that is not that great. I can do better.
Mhm.
For example, to spend $5,000 and get 20,000 books, all I need is for there to be, one New Mutants 98, one, X-Men 101, and one X-Men number 5 or whatever. And you know, that almost makes it back right there.
Mhm.
And then you have all the rest that would be profit. And you could make, even if you're having to cut down and undercut other sellers, you can still make a lot more than 20% on the cost of the individual book. So it
Mhm.
works better when you can buy in bulk.
So an example of that is I bought almost exclusively at a person on YouTube, Comic Fu, his mystery boxes. And so and this is what's going on, Emmy? But yeah, so I was going to be in his area anyway, so I was able to save on that shipping. So I didn't pay nothing for shipping because I was going to be there anyway. And I pulled one book out of there and paid for 1/7 of the entire lot. As soon as I posted it on Instagram, the thing was sold, the book. And so that was one book out of the hundreds of books that I got out of his deal. And then additionally, And talking about your time, the additional thing is I posted a video on YouTube, so I make money on ad revenue from that. I save money on my shipping supplies because I'm able to recycle every one of the shipping supplies. I pulled a couple of books out of them mystery boxes that I myself wanted, so I didn't have to, go and pay separately for those. So that was great, and the price point was so low. To your point, I have some of them left over, but I've already made my money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
buying them would be good.
and if you need or want a lot of books and you're starting out, especially, buy in bulk. Especially if you're just collecting. I mean, as long as you can afford it, mind you, buy in bulk, and then you can find stuff for a steal of a deal, and you can find a lot of run fillers as well if you're trying to complete something that way. Like, I know good and well if you tell me you got over 5,000 comics and you want to sell them to me, you have no idea what all those 5,000 books are. There
Most
is
people.
no way. So you never know what you might find. You never know if there might be, some super rare book. You never know if you might find a full run of something that you didn't even know you wanted until you had it. Like, how many people are trying to collect Darkhawk now? No one's done that since what, 1991?
Yeah. Well, and talking about Darkhawk, yeah, I was at a show in January of 2020, and seems like it was like the next month that hit big. And I paid $3 for a newsstand copy of Darkhawk #1. And so sometimes you're able to get deals like that. But yeah, I mean that was just a 90s book. And nobody liked them, but now people are starting to tap in. Sleepwalker is another example of that.
Yeah,
So
amazingly.
so Sleepwalker is rumored to be in the new Doctor Strange movie because there's an action figure being released for the and that's got to be what they're going to do is put him in with that.
Yeah, well, who knows, man. But anyway, that was my number two. I do better buying in bulk than in singles. And the number one thing I have learned in 2021 that I wrote down here is don't grade a book unless there is plenty of spread for a faster than standard tier.
Okay.
In other words, I probably should never grade a book again on the standard tiers, like the cheapest tiers. I should probably only grade a book if it's valuable enough in the grade I think it is to warrant a faster tier. In other words, a higher price.
So when you say,
Unless it's PC.
so what you're saying is that there needs to be enough spread in the book. If I'm going to send it off to get graded to sell, there needs to be enough spread in the book for me to do it fast because the turnaround times. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is if you got a book that's worth $100 and you want to sell it, it's not worth sending it in because you don't know what's going to happen in the almost year or 6 months it's going to take to get it graded at the standard grading tier at either company. But
Right.
if you were to go and send it in the faster tier, well, it's only worth $100, so it's not worth the extra to speed it up because you'd eat up all your room.
Sure.
Well,
sure.
that means the book has to be even more valuable in order to send it at the faster tier to get it done. And unless you have a book like that, I wouldn't even think about grading anymore.
Yeah. Yep. I'd agree with that.
Like a lot of people grade books just as soon as they are released. They send them off to be graded. There's a company that you order your 9.8 CGC, and it's of stuff that comes out normally. And I'm like, no, that we got to stop that. And I think a lot of people are. So don't grade the book unless there is enough spread for a higher, faster tier. Like the 2-day modern or the standard that's like 43 business days with CGC or those kind of tiers, or faster.
Wait, what's going on, Chaos? Yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
because and they've the grading companies have been directing the market for I guess what 20 plus years now as they've become more of a big thing. But yeah, it's sad though that they're now directing it because they lack efficiency.
Yeah. But I think it's better for us to sell most of your books raw, but the ones that have value sell, in a slab. I think that's probably better in the long run for us. The only problem with that is that it makes people have to buy at a deal because they can't just buy at a standard, slab it, and then make the money that way.
Right.
So that's where your bulk and your runs, I think, are going to matter more if more people have that same line of thinking that I just outlined for the number one. Whereas we don't grade much unless it's PC or you just do not care when it comes back, like it's an old standard or something. I wouldn't hand it off unless it can be done at a higher tier. Like
Yeah.
anything for my PC, like my Superman Adventures, I'm trying to get an all 9/8. I just sent 5 of those off a few months ago to CBCS. I don't care when they come back. I have them for the 9.8 check, make sure they come back 9.8, but I don't care when they come back. And the other 5 books that went with them, they're ones that are cool enough covers or valuable enough as they are. I know it's not going to drop in price or anything, so I don't care when they come back. But that was a few months ago. This is something I think is I have learned in 2021 in like the last 2 months. Because they just cannot seem to get their head around getting things done quicker. So that's what it has here. I'm going to run through 1 through 5 again real quick, just give a highlight. Number 1, don't grade a book unless there is plenty of spread for a faster tier or it's a PC book. Number 2, I always do better buying bulk than in single. Number 3 is opportunity knocks often, but the door needs cash to open, so keep a reserve of free cash. Number 4, always keep funds separate. And number 5, it's never okay this one time. So anyway, that's what I learned. What you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with all that.
All right. Now I will tell you the number 1, the number 3, and the number 4 are probably this year, but the others are more of reaffirmations of things that I've learned before. But anyway, that's the 5 major things I've learned. Southern, you got anything you want to peddle to the people?
I will be on Lady Fantastic's channel this Thursday, and her and I and some other folks are going to be showing off our top gets for 2021. I'm not sure who all else is going to be on there, but yeah, that I'll be doing that over on her channel Thursday. I don't have an auction this Saturday, but and it won't be the first Saturday in January, but we'll be doing the Saturday auction again fairly soon, getting back in the rhythm of that. What's going on? Ruben Guzman up in the house. White Tiger,
Yeah.
cool, calm, and collected.
Well, at some point I'll have other content. I don't have anything scheduled at the moment. I know JP's channel. Forget which Sunday, but one of the Sundays in January, we're starting our D&D with a new campaign. JP is going to be the guy that does your
Well, actually, I sold a lot of my top gets for 2020 in 2021.
yeah.
But yeah.
But anyway, we're going to be doing D&D. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you for watching on the Rewind. If you are, appreciate you, Southern, for dropping by. And yeah, we're going to see y'all later. Bye.